Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm just gonna say that I got a new camera. Finally, I settled on a camera, and it's the Sony RX100, not the Mark II or Mark III, just a normal Sony RX100. Now you might be thinking, why am I making this video? Well, it's quite simple. Simply because it's a little thoughts and opinions of the camera itself, and also my struggles of actually getting it. Before actually continuing, I want to show you my current camera, and that, my current camera that was doing all the job before, and it was a Sony HX9V. Brilliant camera, by the way. It's recording it right now, and this is probably the last video I'm going to record with it. But excellent camera. I really did like it over the time of its usage. It was very nice. But anyway, now moving on to the actual RX100. Now the RX100 was actually not my first pick. My first pick was actually the Canon G16. The Canon G16 was a lovely camera, but when it came to recording, it was absolutely terrible. By that I mean it had weird autofocusing and weird lighting decisions that it was doing, and on top of that, it had a huge static kind of noise in the background. I have no idea what Canon were thinking or what people were doing recommending this camera. Generally speaking, you know, it's a great camera, but you know, if it has a dedicated video button, that means that it should do some sort of video decently. And people were like, oh, you need a dedicated mic, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be editing the video, then blah blah blah. I was like, no, that's none of that crap. I'm not taking any of it. Returned it. Then I went for the Sony A5100. That's the one that has an interchangeable lens. I can't speak. And it's about the same body size as this, a little bit bigger. Now that was a lovely camera again, and its video qualities were actually very nice, especially with its advanced video codec. It was very cool. But its interchangeable lens caused me a huge problem. And by that I mean the lens it came with just wouldn't do macro shots. And by macro shots I mean, like, let's say this is the lens, which I'm going to open up right now, and this is the subject right here. That for me is a macro shot, not doing 25 centimeters, which I can't actually show you on camera right here because this is about 10 to 15. Literally, to get a focus for the other camera, I had to go 25 centimeters away before the camera could actually focus in. And that is just unacceptable for me. Now, I know it's interchangeable lenses for a reason. It's there so that you can put your own lens, your macro lens, your actual, you know, small macro lens, or your wide angle lens, or everything like that. But that wasn't for me. In other words, I wanted the camera that I could just do this, you could focus in like that and see what I'm showing, and go out again and it would still focus. Not a camera that I would, you know, have problems doing that with, or let alone it wouldn't even focus a thing that's, you know, less than, I mean, right now it's about 15 centimeters away from its subject. I can't deal with that. I don't know why, but anyway, that wasn't for me. Then I came for the RX100. So I bought the RX100 in the UK. Now the problem with the RX100, at least the Mark I version, not the Mark II or Mark III, is that Sony went full retard. And by that I mean, they essentially limited the FPS on the EU version or the UK version to 50 FPS, and I wanted a camera that did 60 FPS, and that's mainly for YouTube. So now you'll be seeing all my videos at 60 FPS. You might be asking yourself, why the hell do I see AVC HD over here and 60p? And it's simple, because this is not a UK bought phone, it's not EU bought. I actually travelled out to the US to buy it. No, I didn't fly out just because of that. My auntie bought it for me. I paid her when I went to the US for holidays during the Christmas break, and this is how I got the camera. This is from Amazon.com. And that is my major complaint with this camera, the fact that it doesn't have a PAL to NTS switch. It's a very fundamental thing to have on any camera or any handheld device, in my opinion. And this camera is about 2-3 years old, probably about 3 years old, maybe pushing it a little bit. But it didn't have a switch, and yet my Sony HX9V had it, and I'm very much disappointed this camera that is essentially better in every single way didn't have it. So very much disappointed in that respect. But anyway, finally got my hands on the version I wanted, the 60p version, and finally I've got a camera or a handheld device, a point and shoot that does everything. It was just about £300, including sales tax in the US. It was $450. It also came with a free free SD card, sorry, which I don't use. I actually use my own one, but that was a 32GB SanDisk, 40 megabit per second speed, which is a very good SD card, and 32GB is brilliant. It's actually the one that's currently in this camera, the HX9V. And the one in this one is a 60 megabit extreme one. So I've got just higher speeds just for those recordings, because I do a lot of recording, so I just like that extra speed, and also burst shooting, which I like doing every now and then when watching sports. So so yeah, overall the price was decent. It was slightly expensive, but £300, £350 was my budget really, and this really does everything I want. First of all, its size. Now, the G16 was quite a big boy, let's put it that way, but this is really small. In fact, it's kind of almost too small. Your hand almost gets into the way of the AF illuminator, so it's actually very small, but I really like it because I can put it in my pocket. Now, just to show you a size comparison, there's a Samsung Galaxy S3. Look at the size there. It's smaller than the Samsung Galaxy S3 in terms of length. Obviously in width it's going to be thicker, but it's not that thick, and it's actually reasonably light. It has a metal-esque construction. Well, it's not metal, but it looks like metal, let's put it that way, but it's plastic, like hard plastic of some sort, and it fits in my pocket, and I can just take it wherever I want and take pictures. Or videos. Now, the video quality was actually very good. One thing I did not like is the fact that it heats up quite quick. And when it heats up, for some reason, it comes up with a little heat indicator, and it turns down the display. Now, this is going to be a trouble if you go to hot countries, or if you are in a hot country. For example, the US is a great example where this camera was bought from, that you're going to have this limiting factor. Now, the heating function essentially reduces your recording times, which again affects me, which is not a great thing. So bear that in mind when buying this camera. For me, it's something I can work around because I try to aim for under 10 minutes, but when I go over, I'm probably going to do editing anyway on Sony Vegas, so it's fine. So do bear that in mind when getting the camera. And then its actual photo quality. Now, the photo quality is what really kind of blew me away. For its size, you know, I wasn't expecting the best sort of quality, but you know, it really did a great job at close range. Let's see, there we go, focuses in and takes a lot. I mean, it's pointless showing you this because you know you can't appreciate the picture, but it's honestly very nice. Now, in terms of its range, I mean, in terms of like where it focuses, it actually focuses quite close. Like over here, it's still focusing, and here is just asking for too much. So about here is okay, and that is very short distance for me, and it's very nice. A nice improvement over my current HX9V. So great in terms of that. So that is nice. And then in terms of its actual functionalities, I did feel that Sony just, you know, they haven't released a firmware update, and I think it could really do with one. There's certain functions over here, like in the menu, that I felt that were kind of lacking, or for example the NTS switch is one of the fundamental ones. But for example, as simple as, you know, say setting your, I don't know, let's say the single shot, right? So you go single shot, you go single shot AF, fine. You press exit, and then it gets exit there. Then you press menu again, and it's back to the square one. It's not to where you left it off. So it's a very small thing, but it gets really annoying if you start changing a lot of settings. And you know, if you're a manual user, then you're probably going to be really pissed off doing this each time. So it's something very small like this that could have easily been solved with a firmware update, but no, Sony went full retard again and don't provide any sort of firmware update. So there's certain problems with this camera in terms of software-wise that I would like to improve, including its actual speed, its responsiveness. It's still a little bit slow. It's not as fast as, say, the G16. I think it's still a little bit lagging. It might not look it now, but it was the case, especially when if I want to view pictures, it took just a while loading in, you know, say deleting, which, you know, I can't do because my memory card's not in, deleting and then going back and things like that. It was just a little bit slow, not what I expected. And on top of that, if I want to delete multiple ones, I would have to go on menu, go on delete, then choose multiple. You know, it's a little bit strenuous. I thought, you know, it'd be a little bit more simple like it's on my HX9V. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that this does have a few minor problems, and you know, they can be, they could have been changed, but they're not. But it's something that I can live with personally. On top of that, this does also is connected via micro USB, and I really like that actually, this functionality, because you know, if you lose your camera cable, then what are you going to do? Buy a new camera cable? How much is that going to set you back? You know, it might only be £5 or so, but why spend any money when, you know, you could use the one, for example, on your Samsung Galaxy S3 and plug this one in and charge it the same way, or connect it up to your computer. That's the beauty of this camera. You know, you could do that. It charges like that, and you know, it connects to your computer like that, and it works flawlessly. And I really like that functionality. The fact that I don't need a different cable to use this. If I have an Android or BlackBerry, for example, or a Windows Phone, I could just plug it in just as I would do with those normal cables. And those cables, I'm pretty sure you got tons of them lying around. I've got about 10 or 20 in my house, so it's lovely that I could use them if the cable fails over time. So overall, this camera is something that I quite like. I was very much impressed by it in terms of its video quality and shooting quality. It's not the perfect camera by any stretch of the imagination, you know, one being that I had to get it from the US, but it is a camera that really fit my bill. A portable camera that's under £350 that can do videos at 1080p at 60 frames per second at AVC HD or MP4, which in this case is AVC HD, has a decent macro quality lens, as in, you know, quite short range in that respect for me. Also has a decent zoom, which it does, and it has a good focusing, which is decent. It's not amazing, it's okay. It does an okay job, and on top of that, is easy to use. I don't want something overly complicated. The G16 wasn't overly complicated, but I could see where some people might think it's overly complicated. In this respect, this is very, very simple to use, and very straightforward, and everything's explained. If anything, you know, you can go to the manual and it's fully explained over there. So, you know, it's got all its features, and yeah, overall this was the camera that really ticked all the boxes, and I'm very glad I've got it, and expect videos from it now. 60 frames per second, guys. That's all the videos that are going to come from it. It's going to come from this camera, the RX100. Anyway, guys, I hopefully you've enjoyed this video. It's more of an FYI information video, and you know, my struggles actually finding that right camera, and on top of that, just to let you know that my videos will now be done in 60 frames per second. Alright guys, take care. Bye bye.